say that Donald Trump is hurting the party. And I certainly don't disagree with you. I'm no longer a Republican. I'm in that joyous vacuum that is independency. But I would argue that the party has hurt the party and made room for the rise of Donald Trump.
I think, yeah, look, I mean, there's plenty of blame to go around in lots of different ways in lots of different places. But ultimately, I don't think it's entirely fair to tar the Republican Party. And I'm not any special spokesperson for the Republican Party either. I'm proud to call myself a conservative. That just happened to makes me root for the more conservative party of the two parties.
Yeah.
But I take no particular pride in calling myself a Republican. But look, Donald Trump on most issues is essentially a liberal and a statist.
Yeah.
And on the few issues where he's a right-winger, he's not a conservative. He's like a right-wing populist. He'd be a much more fitting sort of right-winger in Spain or France. You know, statist, strongman, nativist, anti-immigrant. That's Le Pen stuff. That's not really part of, you know, standard-issue National Review conservatism or Weekly Standard conservatism,
yeah,
or even Republican Party conservatism.
No, it's finding a home and plenty of cheerleaders abroad, and obviously it is here as well. So if Donald Trump feels a surge in the polls from these comments, what does it say about the party and voters in general?
Well, it's just, I mean, part of the problem, and I know this sounds weird, but part of the problem really is Barack Obama's fault. And not just Barack Obama's fault, but sort of the mainstream media's and the Democratic parties and elite liberalism's fault. Because there is so much PC nonsense out there that, you know, refusal to call it a war, it's overseas contingency operations, it's workplace violence,
strategic
all of this
patience,
nonsense.
Yeah.
And so what you get is Donald Trump, who's a lout and often a buffoon, but no one ever doubts what he's saying, and he speaks what people think is honesty and clarity,
yeah,
and with passion about these things, and people find that un-PC-ness very refreshing.
Actually, you had a great line, and I want you to explain this. You said catharsis masquerading as principle to describe Donald Trump. Explain that.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, he's just, there's so much...
I said catharsis. I meant catharsis.
It's okay. I knew what you meant. So, there's so much frustration, there's so much anger, and this is like, you know, just a giant middle finger to the Republican establishment, to Washington, D.C., to the political class, to support Donald Trump. It's a way of saying, you know, ha, 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 you guys are all idiots. I love this guy, and it pisses you all off,
yeah,
and there must be something good about it. And that is an understandable thing, but that, you know, being understandable isn't an excuse